Hey guys, welcome back. It's me again, Fernando Freitas, Senior Instructor of the Academy of Realist Art. And we're going to look again at the 15-block mannequin. Now last week we did a standing pose, figuring out contrapposto, figuring out how the blocks moved on that figure, and eventually simplifying it into a 10 to 14 gestural construct, which captures the pose, captures proportion, and captures gesture, giving you a good foundation to then build upon the rest of the figure as you move into form, and structure, and division of light and dark. So this week we're going to look at a seated pose and see if there are different challenges that are involved in that position. Will there be some foreshortening we have to deal with? And how do we position foreshortening? How do we take care of, again, proportion and gesture, and again, simplify into a 10 to 14 block construct? So without further ado, let's get started. All right, so we're looking now at a seated pose using a drawing by the French artist Pierre-Paul Prud'hon from the book Language of the Body. We're using a female nude, seated, trying to understand now in a seated pose what the gesture is, where sense of gravity and weight is, and we'll work with our blocks. We're going to start with the first three main blocks being the head, the rib cage, and the pelvic block. So when we're blocking these blocks, again, understanding their parameters and a sense of their proportion. So the head, you want to obviously mark the top of the head, the sides of the head to get a sense of how wide the head is and what direction is the head going. And just a gentle little landmark of the chin is sufficient enough to get a sense of the proportion of the height of the head to the width of the head. Again, look at the core of the block. Try to understand the axis that will occur, the imaginary axis that occurs in the center of a block to get a sense of the direction it's going in. All right, now the rib cage. So let's grab the back of the rib cage using the spine area here. A landmark for the top of the rib cage could be the shoulder area, the trapezium, the clavicle. The center of the rib cage, or the front of the rib cage, is about here. And again, we're trying to get a sense of the girth of the model. So feel your way to the size of these blocks. Your first landmarks might not exactly be how wide or tall your block should be. So once you have it blocked in, get a sense of the weight of that block by observing and comparing to the other blocks. So remember, the bottom of the rib cage is also the bottom of the elbow. So if we follow the arc of the arm and the arc of the elbow, we'll know where the bottom of the rib cage. But look for key points, protrusion of the bone, or an indent in the bend of the rib cage to the pelvic block. So here we go with the pelvic block now. And that now, even though it's seated on a platform, is actually gently going across a little diagonal. Again, look at the axis of the block. See that main direction. Get a sense of where it's moving. And the bottom of the pelvic block is here. Using the bottom of the buttocks, we have the back of the pelvic block, the front of the pelvic block. Around the belly button areas where we're seeing the digging in of the two blocks pinching into each other. We're using the height of the ilium or the iliac crest as our other landmark. Now again, observe how this block is going this way and this block is going this way. So these two corners are pinching, these two corners are pulling apart. This is the passive side, this is the active side of the pose. All right, let's move into our legs now. We want to establish the top of the thigh of the front leg as it works its way towards the knee. The bottom of the thigh is going straight down. Actually, let's put this a little higher now. We're a little low with that. And the bottom of the thigh is about here. So this block will taper wider at the top, tapering thinner towards the knee. We can see the block is going in that direction, therefore we have to close it perpendicular. And the top of the knee would be about here. The other thigh we hardly see, so we can just put a landmark of where it is. And then we need to block the bottom of the knee. the back of the calf as it sweeps over to the foot, the front of the block, and again, the core of the block is slightly bending this way, and then we have the top of the ankle, and then we can skip again the joints. Remember, you're skipping your joints when you're doing this, so we've skipped the abdomen area, the neck, we've skipped the hip joint, we're skipping the knee joint, and now we're skipping the ankle joint. So our blocks will close above and below these joints, leaving empty space to read as the joint area. So there's the foot, using the back of the heel, the bottom of the foot, the top of the foot, and working our way under the ankle and to the top. Now the other foot, we'll put a landmark for the knee here. Let's sweep that block this way. We're looking at the negative shape to help us position the one leg in relationship to the other. This will taper. Again, we're going to close above the ankle. Now we can position that heel, go under the ankle, find the slope of the foot, mark the back of the heel, the back of the sole of the foot, and now we have our toes. So that's giving us a good understanding of what the body is doing, how the legs are positioned, where the feet are in relationship to each other. So we're left with just the arms now to deal with. And again, we're looking at the back of the arm, towards the elbow, the top of the arm, getting a sense of the girth of that arm. We want to close this block around the armpit area or under the ball of the humerus, the bone, and we're closing above the elbow. Now the forearm is working its way back up, slightly C-curving or bending, again closing above the wrist. And now the hand is changing direction, so we are closing the hand there. A few landmarks to suggest what the hand is doing. A simple blocking in of all the fingers, the grouping, is sufficient enough to get an idea what the hand will be doing. All right, the back arm. So again, using the negative shape in here, we're able to position the bottom of the arm, the top of the arm. We need to now adjust the head and lower it a little bit more as it overlaps with the arm. We have the block ending there, and now the forearm is turning upwards again. And then closing again at the wrist, and then the other palm is about here. All right, so there you have the 15 blocks, giving you a good feel of what this pose is doing. Obviously, step back, observe what you've done, make some adjustments either to size, to proportion, or even to positioning. Have you angled something too much? Are you making something too big or too small? Now, once you've done that, you can now simplify this into your 10 to 14 ghosty bandy lines using C curves, right? So again, we're going to work with C curves, S curves, we're using straight movements, and we're using the zigzag movement. All right, so the two blocks here are definitely letting me see that I can capture the back in one C curve. Again, I'll still establish where the top of the torso is. Again, I need the back of the head. I still need the top of the head. And I need the other side of the head, and I can landmark the chin to tell me where the size of the head is. We're looking at the bottom of the arm towards the elbow. We're going from the elbow towards the wrist. And we can sweep both these arms together as you see them create a vertical movement here. And then we can break apart the one arm from the other by establishing the bottom. We'll grab the top of this arm, top of the forearm, and again a little C curve, a little landmark here telling us what the thumb is doing, where the palm is. Now we said this is the active side, so I'm going to keep this with two movements, two sharp little straight movements, just to keep that pinching, that dynamic movement on that side. With the leg, we can now do a simple C curve starting here, going towards the outer knee, and then forking towards the front knee. So at some point, the two C curves come together. Now grab the bottom of the thigh, bottom of the buttocks towards the back of the knee, and now we have to reverse the sweep this way, from the top of the knee, all the way down to the toe of the foot. A little simple flat movement here, suggesting stress of the foot resting on the ground. And then we have this reverse C curve all the way down to the top of the toes, little blocking of the bottom of the toes. The back of the foot can be one movement to the heel, landmark the ankle, and you can still grab the back of the shin here. Now basically, if I erase the blocks now, I'll be left with my 10 to 14 line. 10 to 14, 10 to 15 ghosty bandy lines that suggest a gestural construct that capture this pose. And there you have it. So a nice, simple mannequin that's telling us what it's doing, it's giving us proportion, it's giving us gesture, and this is the strong foundation you're looking for at the beginning of your figure drawing. That way you're not chasing this anymore, and you're not moving the drawing around anymore. All you're doing is then building upon this and adding more layers and more layers of information. All right, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.